thank you very much for joining us today at this public hearing for the inquiry into environmental infrastructure for growing populations.
The 4 million hectares of Victoria that Parks Victoria does manage, it ranges from significant World Heritage areas such as Butch Bim, large significant national parks such as King Lake or Mornington Peninsula or Point Nepean, and some of them even in the sort of peri-urban area like the Dandenong Ranges, and all the way through to large regional open space like Yarra Bend, Albert Park, Plenty Gorge.
What is the plan for these outer suburbia type areas that are experiencing enormous growth, and we know also experiencing things like a heat island effect?
A lot of the areas that Parks Victoria manage are those large areas like the future Western Grasslands and those Werribee Township and Werribee River. So our role is to make sure that they're as strong, they're the backbone for things like heat island effect, habitat and the like.
Do you think there's a sort of role of community education for Parks Victoria, to be spreading the messages about the areas they're responsible for and the wonderful little creatures that are sitting in those grasslands and why they're protected?
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's, grasslands are really special places but can be undervalued by people because they are different to a normal type of park that you might see. So we certainly have got a role in community engagement and working with community to understand that the parks that are in their neighbourhood and how we can work together to make sure that we are creating those environments to protect those little critters.
We've had probably too many times to count in terms of the evidence we've heard from the committee, whether it's from individuals, from interest organisations, from local councils. We've had witness after witness saying parks don't have enough money to do their job.
If I look at the overall organisation, we're sitting at about 205 million in 2010 and we're just over 400 million today. Now, significantly, that is capital works, delivering significant multi-portfolio, and I mean that we're delivering for ports, we're delivering for the visitor economy, we're delivering for DJPR, RDV, and obviously for Department of Environment. So whilst the large capital comes in great, it's fantastic. There are two issues: to be ongoing OPEX to manage those large assets as they come to life is one question. And then again, just our prioritisation of things that happen along the way. But we certainly understand some of the feedback, and we can't manage 3,000 reserves and have a ranger in every single place in Victoria, which is always a challenge.
Are you able to give a couple of comments on whether Parks Victoria is actually going to be organising a strategy on mountain biking? Because I know there's a lot of people that do really like it and enjoy it.
We're working at a state government level, multiple agency level, to try and coordinate one through Sport and Rec, whether it's RDV, GELP, Parks Victoria, local council, to look at a statewide approach to mountain biking. And you're quite correct, there isn't one in Victoria.
So it's about selecting the appropriate parcels of land, and a forest might be more appropriate than a mountain bike at a national park, for instance, for development of facilities. So that public land mountain biking strategy is a really important.
What are the top 3 things that you think state government could do to improve upon delivering environmental infrastructure to growing populations? Surely you must be able to see where the gaps and the bottlenecks are.
Forecasting those sort of investments in rangers and/or science and protection for communities, fire programs is what we do and what we build into all of our park management programs. That would be one. An ongoing asset management program of significance. We manage over 45,000 assets across the estate alone, and obviously looking at where the criticalities through master planning, through community feedback, conservation outcomes, we would prioritise those. But some form of long-term funding program of asset maintenance and recurrent programs would be critical.
The approach of managing country together and across the Melbourne landscape. So there's been some great work through things like the Yarra Strategic Plan about how the voice of Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and other traditional owners will keep on playing out. It's the role for the community to go on the journey about traditional owners having a greater role, influence in self-determination mode about the future of the parks and reserves and waterways in the Greater Melbourne area.
Planning the parks for the future as the community is growing and making sure that level of investment, as Matt was talking about, is there for the management of those new parks, as well as the putting in the infrastructure that meets the community's needs.
Matthew, Kylie and Stuart, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. That was fantastic.